There we go. And we're live. Finally.
Yeah.
Some technical difficulties tonight. Appreciate you guys bearing with us a little later than we had anticipated, but we are here. So, Johnny, how are you doing tonight?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing good, Jake. At the end of the day, it's all good, buddy. Good evening to all the crypto maniacs out there. Just happy to be here, Jake. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you being on with me. Excited to get into all the different things in crypto tonight with you. Just run it down. Got a bunch of people here in the chat already. So roll back up to the top of the list here. But for you guys that don't know Johnny, he's part of Warrior Academy over there with the coach JV. If you guys don't know who he is, you're probably not part of the XRP community. Anyway, happy to have him on with me tonight. They've been nice enough to have me on their show a few different times in the mornings, and wanted to return the favor. So if you want to give everybody, if they don't know you, a little bit of background, Johnny, and kind of what you guys do over there at the Warrior Academy, and then also at Merlin.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Jake. So for anyone who doesn't know the 3T Warrior Academy, Coach JV there. You might be familiar with his famous phrase, Warriors rise. Get your shit together, baby. Let's go. Well, basically, we teach all about health, mindset, body, crypto, right? All about how to ensure that you're generating wealth and then protecting your wealth. But it all starts with the mindset and the 120-day challenge. So if you join the academy, you can try that out. You get your body, get your mind in shape. And then from there, there's a whole bunch of different things. We have crypto, of course, to be able to, for a newbie who wants to be familiar with that. And then all different ways to learn how to, navigate yourself through what we call the emotional crypto market, Jake, as you know how it's played. We try to teach people the game. So if you know the game, you can't play. So we're trying to help and educate people in the space on that. And then once you figure out how to navigate the space, you gotta have an exit plan. And that's where Merlin, this side, that's where Merlin comes in, where we've created a tool or an app that helps people track all their crypto in one place, and more importantly, forces them to think about an exit strategy. Otherwise, you're going to do what most people do. You're going to watch your crypto go way up, and you're going to watch it come all the way back down. We're all familiar. We've all made that mistake. And then once you take it out of the market, now you've got to figure out what do you do with it? Where do they go? How do you protect them? And I know you do a lot of that as well. And then we've also got IUL plans and talking about investing, smartest man in Babylon. So invest in yourself and invest in assets that return more assets, right? So those are the kinds of things in a nutshell that we try to teach there at the Academy. So I encourage everybody to check out the 3T Academy with JV. Again, see what you're thinking. Maybe for you, great. If not, well, we got to lose, right?
Yeah, 100%. No, I love Coach. He's a man of God, and I think he's got a great story. And anyway, yeah, I like what you guys do over there. It resonates with me. Obviously, like you mentioned, looking to help people make sure that they maximize the returns that they get on their crypto, put it in other assets that continue to pay them long after, maybe some of the cycles have gone by. I think this one might be a little bit different with utility, but until we're there, same constraints yield the same outcomes. So,
exactly.
But yeah, you guys have an interesting product there with Merlin. So you guys, for y'all that don't know, basically Merlin ties into all the exchanges and aggregates all of your crypto in one spot, right? And wallets. So like Atomic Wallet, Exodus, Ledger, anything else you might want, you can tie it into that, and then it's all in one UI or user interface where you can see what all your assets are doing. You guys at a point now where you can actually set limit orders through the UI, or it just aggregates that and shows you what those are on the exchanges where you're holding your assets?
Yeah, so right now we're still more of a read-only application. So what we've done is phase one of Merlin is just bring all your coins into one place. So, in crypto, if you're in the space, the biggest challenges. You talk to people, they've got 4, 5, 6, 7. We got people with 8 to 10 different wallets, right? In trying to be able to track what your portfolio, first of all, just what it is. What's my total portfolio worth? What's my average price of some of my coins? What are my coins doing today? Trying to just figure all that out was a nightmare for me when I got into this space, because it's not like the stock market where your exchanges have everything all there. You can see your profit loss. We're so early in this space that all these decentralized situations lead to this fragmented scenario of, well, my coins are everywhere and I don't know what they're doing. And so the need for crypto tracker, I tried to forget about it. It's impossible, because you have to modify and update it every single day to keep track of what's going on. So we said, you know what? An app makes perfect sense for this. Let's create an app. We weren't the first ones to do it. There's plenty of other apps out there. But what we did differently is we said, hey, let's take crypto tracker and let's marry it to a whole exit plan piece. Cool. Because what we realized was so many people like us, when you got into the space and we watched it go up and we watched it go down. We're like, you know what? The problem is when we were going up, we needed to have an exit, but we didn't. And so we came back down. So the beautiful thing of having an exit plan, when you talk to people, what we learned was nobody has an exit. They're getting in, but they don't know when they're getting out.
Yeah. Well, for me, I talk with a lot of people, right? We've had over 600 consults, help people establish themselves, make sure that their stuff's, secured in an LLC so that when they do take profits, they can take those profits and put them somewhere where they can offset the tax implications, or inside of a trust, So anyway, most people, even if they do have an exit plan, I ask them what they want to do with the money. And they're like, what? I don't know. I just know I'm supposed to take 10% here, 25% here, 50% here. And I'm like, cool. Okay. Now you have tax implications. How are you going to offset those? Where are you putting that money to then make sure that you like the IULs, right? It's an option with the insurance. You can draw lines of credit against it. It continues to grow value over time. Are you going to purchase a piece of real estate with that, a car wash, a business? What other traditional asset are you going to use to hedge against the volatility in this space, right? We work with other people to be able to take loans against their crypto at a very low LTV, so that you're not having to worry about getting liquidated. We do that through some partnerships that we have with some first rights of refusal and other things to mitigate those losses. But then we take that liquidity line and then repurpose it somewhere else where we're earning a higher interest rate than whatever we took the loan at, right? So just different solutions like that. I don't think you're right. A lot of people just don't even think through that side. If they do have an exit plan, they're like, okay, well, I have an exit plan, which is great. You never go broke taking profits. The problem is, what are you going to do with those profits? And some people just want to better their life. Some people are fine with paying the 20% capital gains and they go about their business and they know that that's coming off the top, going to Uncle Sam, and the rest of this is mine. Cool. That's probably less complicated, honestly. But if you want to make sure or try to keep all of it and use it for what you want to use it for, that's what we help people do. And I'm sure you guys do too. So,
yeah, I think you nailed it perfectly, Jake. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people don't have a plan. That's just really what we're trying to help people understand is you need to have a plan. And an exit plan doesn't mean you're going to sell everything. It means you want to sell a certain portion on the way up. And you're not even going to hit all your targets, maybe. But when you come back sliding down, let me tell you, you feel good that you're able to extract some value. And you're looking back, you're like, whew. I'll tell you what sucks, Jake. When you're in it and you're selling, like the very first time
you feel stupid.
Oh, my God. I didn't want to hit the sell exit plan. I made a plan. I hit it. And then the price kept going up, and I was pissed at myself. I hit it again, went higher, and then I was still mad. But you know what? I felt great. 6 months later, when Cardano went up to $3 and came down to 30 cents, I was like, damn, I'm a genius. And I sold back then. It felt like shit. And that's when the old thing, you hear this all the time. Warren Buffett says, buy when there's blood in the streets. Buy when it feels crappy. You have to buy when it feels crappy. And you have to sell when it feels crappy. And Jake, that's why people lose money, because Who the hell wants to buy when it doesn't feel right?
Well,
But
and the other
that's the
side
game.
too, right? It's the you want to do the opposite of your emotions. When everybody else is in euphoria, it's going to the moon, it's never going to stop. You need to be dumping on those people, just like the institutions are.
That's right.
That's probably a bad way to put it.
There's two choices, Jake. You could be the exit liquidity, or you can jump on somebody else as the exit liquidity. I mean, that's the game, right? It's that simple. It's two choices. Either you are somebody else's exit liquidity, it will be yours. It sucks, but that's how the game is played.
Well, there's got to be a buyer for every seller,
Yep.
right? And that's how that works. So, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. I like to average into the market. So you DCA, you try to, buy when the greed and fear index is in the red, right? Like you said, when it feels crappy and everybody thinks you're crazy and it's going lower, that's when you're averaging into the market. And then when everybody's over here on the 80% greed, that's when you're clicking the sell button.
Gotta go. Get the hell out of Dodge.
And Bitcoin, the market was at like 88% greed not too long ago when Bitcoin hit, I think it was like 74,000.
Yep.
If you had liquidated your Bitcoin then, it's pulled back some. I don't know where we go from here. I know that blockchain backer's out. Like he done sold all his Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
Back at the previous all-time high. He took the last bit of it, 69. And he re-diversified into other altcoins that haven't gone yet, right? There's lots of those. I got some questions here about XRP in the chat. It's one of them.
I mean, everybody's favorite stablecoin. I'm just kidding. Yeah. We joke all like it's one of my big things. But we do joke quite a bit that it's been a pretty good stablecoin so far. But it's going to break out of that now. So
that's the point of it, though, right? And I don't beat around the bush on this. There's other people that are like, Ripple doesn't dump on the market. They absolutely do dump on the market, and they hold price stable to settle payments.
Yeah,
in their software, that's what they're doing.
But it does.
Yeah. Yep. If it was volatile, it wouldn't fulfill the use case that they're trying to build it for, right? And until they need it at a higher price, she's going to sit.
You just said the key point. So when we talk about this, we talk all the time. The reason why XRP is at the price that it is today is the daily volume that it needs to be is not. It is where it needs to be today.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why we want to see more utility, or more adoption, more use cases of XRP, that will help grow the daily institutional trade volume. As that number grows, then the price of XRP has to go up to be able to handle that total daily trade volume. That's what we're waiting for. That's really the game here. Is we're just waiting for, and and the reality is, here's the problem: is we're in the speculation phase, and everybody else is seeing all the other cryptos pumping, and like, what the hell? I want mine to pump. But we're seeing that right now. We haven't. But I think, for me, what I'm looking for, I tell everybody looks at the price. That's the wrong place to watch. Look at the adoption. Look at the relationships they're building. Look at the NDAs and things that they're putting in place to be able to have those discussions to continue to grow the use case. That is what you want to be seeing, because that tells you in the future that utilities will come, Jake. When a utility comes, that daily volume, trade volume is going to go up, and guess what? The price is going to go a whole new level.
It's going to be a big move when it comes.
Well,
I'm sure the people that were buying Amazon at $6 after the crash in 2001, like, they felt stupid, right? But had you been buying it at that time and backing up the truck on it, because Bezos was still trucking along, signing contracts, building things, the business was growing. And if you were watching that, the price would have looked horrible. It was at $100 at the high and went down to $6 or whatever it was. You'd be done now 10 times over. I know people that got into Amazon at $6 and $10.
Yeah.
Bitcoin the same way, like the previous markets, right? If you got in at the bottom when everybody else said it was going to, $10,000 and you were buying at 15 and 16, probably doing pretty good right now. I know a guy that was in Dubai. He bought Solana at the low. like right after FTX when it was like $7 or $9.
Oh,
Oh, and he backed up the truck, dude. He got a couple hundred grand worth.
He's living life pretty right now. Then
yeah, well, he had an exit plan. So I'll walk you through what he told me. He was like, look, when we met him in Dubai at Swell, it was at $42, and he was like, I just took my first exit. I bought 2 condos with that money here in Dubai. He's like, when it gets to 100, I'll pull out another 70% of the investment. I'll buy another 4 condos, and then the rest of it I'll let ride. And if I feel like taking it, I'll take it and buy some more condos with it. And those cash flow every month for him, pays him a salary. He's got a management company that look over him there in Dubai. You know what I mean? Like, and he's putting them down, and then he's financing them too, right? So now you get the depreciation. You can do a cost seg on the property.
yeah.
So let's say it's an $800,000 condo, okay? And we're going to get a cost seg done. So most time when you amortize or depreciate a property over 27 and a half years, you only get a little bit every single year. But different pieces of that property depreciate at different rates. So you can get a cost seg analysis done and pull like 90% of that depreciation forward to the first 5 years. So now he's put 25% down on the condo. So let's say, 200,000. He's able to pull 90% forward to the first 5 years. So now he's get 170,000 he gets to write off the first year. He's only got to report $30,000 worth of income. He's in Dubai where this doesn't matter because there's no taxes there anyway. But I'm just telling you, if you were here in the US, like the way you might think about this. So anyway, but that's exactly, we were talking before. If you know what you're going to do with the profits, you've already scoped the condos, the prices, you know which ones you're going to try to buy. You just exit, stick that cash there, finance it, and now you got cash flow.
I think that's the key word right there, Jake. How do you make your money make you more money? It's all about cash flow. What are vehicles and do that? You can stake it into certain platforms if you trust them. There's a way to generate some income. For me personally, I absolutely love real estate. Have some real estate. For me, that's where I'm going to be putting more of my flows because I love the fact that, well, the two things great about real estate is one, it's great inflation hedge. I mean, rents have skyrocketed, right? Because as we've had inflation, property value increases, your rent goes up. So it's automatic hedge against inflation. And then number two, just continuous constant cash flow. And if you don't want to manage the headache yourself, like you said, you can hire a management company at 10%, and you get a ton of write-offs as well. So when you have a rental business, a rental property business. So for me, I love real estate. I think that's certainly one of the places. But I think diversification is the key. Looking at breaking it up into things outside of fiat, going into maybe some silver, some gold, definitely more, maybe a Bitcoin, what could be like the new digital gold, potentially store value. Real estate for me, the 4 key areas that I love, in addition to like an IUL or the other things, the tools you talk about in terms of putting that money into someplace safe to be able to get it out tax free or minimize taxes.
Yeah, well, loans against assets aren't taxable, right? They're not income.
Correct.
It doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're in, whether you're Dubai or you're in the U.S. So a little bit different with Sharia law there and how they assess the interest. But we work on solutions, like I said, where you can take loans against your crypto. And I wouldn't do any more than like 50% LTV. Right now, we could see, like, if you took out 50% LTV on Solana and it went back below $100, you're going to get liquidated.
Right.
That's probably not a good option unless you're sticking that capital somewhere else where it's going to support you long term. It's got cash flow. Of course, you could be delegating your Solana and earning income from that too. I don't know. I would probably de-risk from Solana at this point. It's done pretty good.
Yeah.
Not financial advice, but just me.
Definitely not. I think it makes a lot of sense, though. I think the point of making sure you have an exit plan, like I look at it this way. For most of my cryptos, Jake, I'm looking at somewhere in the 60-40, 70-30 plan where I'm selling 60-70%, keeping 30 for the future. You touched on something that still has a sour point to me to this day, Amazon. So unfortunately, I was in Amazon back in 1997, and like an idiot, I bought it at $17. That was good. Like an idiot, I sold it at 27. But the problem is, I sold it all. You're like, hey, you're a 25-year-old kid. You make 10 grand. You're like, this is pretty good. I'm out. Man, if I only knew then what I know now, I would have had an exit plan. I would have held on to 30% of that. And you know what? I'd be a multi-millionaire by now. But I didn't have an exit plan. That's so important.
Well, I think we've all made that mistake. So I'll tell you a story. I got into Chainlink. Was the first thing I ever bought. I got into Chainlink at like $3.46.
Ooh, nice.
And it got to $9, and I was like, cash out.
I know the feeling. Yep.
So mad.
I know. I know.
But after that, I learned, like, you average in, you average out, right?
Yes.
So you're taking a quarter here. And if you always just take 10% every double,
yeah,
you never run out.
That's right.
Because you're always taking 10% of whatever's there.
Yeah.
Not of the original, but 10% of what's left, right?
What's left, right.
So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but again, what am I going to use that money for? And I wouldn't have known at the time. I was starting my financial journey. I'd gone to school for finance, and I had some wherewithal to take profits. But I rolled that back in on other alts, which was good. It worked out.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a bad place to be back then. You rolled it in, and I'm sure you did pretty well then. That's a strategy, right? You could, if you get the rotations right, we know you can definitely play that game. I don't really like to play that game. I like to do what you said earlier, DCA in during the bear market, because I believe millionaires are made in the bear market, right? You buy Jake. I love red days. When we're in the red, I love it because I'm buying when we're in the bear market red days. Now, I'll be honest with you, in the bullish time, this is where it gets nerve-wracking. This is where you're like, oh, what do I do? Do I sell? Do I do I take a little bit out here? How high does this thing go? This is the nerve-wracking time because you don't know when that leg is over and you're coming down that backside. So that's where you have to start taking some profits out. And it gets a little more, it's more work, it's more management. But the red days, bear market, I love that time.
Yeah, it's easy to know what to do.
It's easy to know what to do. You're buying Link at you literally could have bought Link again back, I think, around $5-6. Yeah. Not that long ago, right? Yeah. And so think about it. You bought it at 3, you sold it at 9. You could have bought it back at 5. And now you sell it at 40 or 20, sorry. Crazy.
What do you think on this is way off topic, but I've been seeing lots of posts about ICP. Do you guys talk about ICP? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so for me, what's funny that you say that? ICP is actually my 3rd or 4th biggest holding. Really? I like ICP a lot. It's in the whole realm of real world assets as well. And to me, so the way I play this space, I look at sectors. There's certain sectors I want to be in. Okay? So for me, I'm like gaming, number 1 sector for me. Why? Because I believe I have 2 kids. They're both gamers, right? You see, all our friends are gamers. Everyone's freaking gamer. Nobody wants to work. Everyone wants to sit home and make money. Well, guess what? The reality is play to earn gaming is potentially enabled now. It's very, very possible because of the blockchain, right? And you can now own through NFTs. You can actually own your own possessions. Think of all the hours, Jake. I don't know if you grew up playing video games. I mean, I've wasted tons of hours of my childhood playing video games, right? Pac-Man and Pitfall and all these other games, right? Yeah. And if I could, in all these players that you're leveling up and if I could have owned those players, you can now sell that player at a higher. So that's a reality. That's going to happen, right? In the gaming industry is so big that for me, I want to be in gaming. I also want to be in AI. I think that's going to be big. And then there's nothing going to be bigger than tokenization. Now, those aren't the only 3 I'm playing. I'm also in smart contracts and payment solutions and all that, enterprise and all that. But for me, those 3 spaces, I say I want to be in those. So when I started doing my research on real world assets, and you can look at RAW on CoinMarketCap, ICP's in that list, right? So you can go through there and you'll see it's a good way to say, hey, what sectors do I want to be in? Then you go to CoinMarketCap and you go see which coins are in that sector. And then you can see them by market cap, highest to lowest. Now, I don't always want to buy all the high ones. I'll scoot down to the bottom of the list and see what's down there. And I'm looking for companies that have founders that have connections. Because, I say this all the time at Good Morning Crypto. I don't know if you can see that, Jake. It's not what you know.
It's who you know.
It's who you know, right? You know how important relationships are. So
100%.
when I see companies that have good relationships, when you look at companies like Myra that's married to like Andreessen Horowitz or Animoca Brands, right? You see all these big name players in there, like Flow, right? Flow's another one I love because of the relationships that they have with Andreessen
Andreessen
Horowitz.
Horowitz.
Yes, and so I'm looking for relationships for companies that are investing in, who've got funds that they understand the space and they're investing in that area. And so ICP was one of those. When I did the research, was one of those I found really, really fascinating. And yes, so I like that one a lot. I'm in it. It's already pumped a bit, but I honestly believe, and again, there's not financial advice, but I still think we're in the beginning of that one. I still think there's another leg for that one to go up on.
Previous all-time high 750.
Yes, exactly.
Like it was down to like nothing in the bottom of the bear market.
$3. Yeah. And I know because I was buying. I tell you, I love red. I love the bear market. That's when you buy. That's when you DCA back in.
Yeah, so I have a little bit different thesis, and people on here are going to know. I'm siloed. I'm not diversified. I made a ton of money in 20 being diversified because I was ignorant and I didn't know what was going to do what when, right? And so I just took 5 and 10 grand and put it a bunch of different places, and then lo and behold,
they all started popping.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but now I'm siloed. I'm good. I got enough. If what I'm in, which is just XRP, you can call me crazy, but if that one goes, and I think that one's probably the front end. So I think payments happens first, and then you get all the other cool, sexy stuff that you talked about, right? So you're going to get the games, you're going to get the NFTs, the AI, the smart contracts, the real world assets, tokenization, but you got to have payments to be able to facilitate all that. 100%. So my thought is, okay, well, that it really goes is my anticipation. And then I'm able to take leverage against that and rediversify into these other things to ride those up also. And hopefully there's some opportunities for staking and different yields there. And obviously, like I said, whatever I sell, plan to offset by investing that capital into, other businesses, purchase businesses, which are write-offs, insurance policies. If you have your stuff in an LLC, you can take out a key employee life insurance policy, and you can write that whole thing off. And then, vehicles, anything that's over 6,000 pounds falls under Section 179 of the tax code here in the U.S. You can depreciate. I think it's back to 100% this year.
Ooh. So any vehicle over 6,000, so basically a truck,
or a G-Wagon, or the soccer mom Porsche, or the soccer Ferrari.
Right.
I was trying to figure out, like 4 or 5 years ago, I started seeing all these soccer moms driving like high-end luxury cars that were the sedan SUV, and I'm like, that's so stupid. Why would they make that? That's why, because it's over 6,000 pounds and it's a $300,000 or $400,000 vehicle, and they know that you can write the whole thing off. You finance it, put 20% down, and write the rest off against your income same year.
Yes, brilliant, perfect. Tax loops for the elites, right?
It's not just the elites; anybody can take advantage of them, right? As long as you know how to do things. Another one that I like is the Augusta rule. So, you can
property.
Well, so you can rent your own home to your business
to your that's right.
Yeah, up to 14 times
days, I think, right? Or 14 days it is, or something like that.
Yeah, for whatever the rate of an Airbnb in your area would be. Yes. So, if you're going to have a get together for people that are at your company, or for anything, just as long as you pay yourself and there's a receipt for it, get to write that off.
Exactly.
So lots of stuff that you can use to offset tax implications if your stuff's in an LLC and you're set up as a business. If you're an individual, you're going to get smashed. You know,
That's why they need to be listening to you, Jake. Getting it all set up, because you're right. There are certain elements, and what I meant by the elites was not that the rules are for the elites, but most of the elites know the rules, and a lot
right?
of when you go to school, you're not taught this stuff. They don't teach you proper finance and things like that in school. That's all stuff that you're taught either from somebody who's known it, an elite who knows the tax rules and the tax loops, and you're like, oh, okay, like IULs. They don't teach you about IULs. You can borrow against them. Who teaches you that stuff? But the reality is, all these tools are out there, and it's just a matter of finding people who can teach you how to do it. And that's what's awesome. Why we love having you on the show, is to be able to talk about those things and educate our audience too about how can you put yourself in a better position and take advantage of some of these. I don't even want to call them tax loopholes, just these tax rules that are out there, because a lot of people don't know them.
Yeah. Well, they're for everybody, right?
Yep.
So people get upset with taxes. Taxes are there to incentivize you. It's to incentivize the flow of capital and handicap people that don't do things correctly, right?
Okay.
And that's why there's all these incentives for businesses to spend money on certain things, because then they get the tax write-off. People are mad that Amazon didn't pay any taxes. Well, how many jobs did Amazon create? How much value and global impact has Amazon had? Like just on the average person's life, and your capability to get stuff easily. It just shows up at your doorstep. And if we didn't have, tax advantages, they would go somewhere else. They wouldn't domicile themselves here in the U.S. We wouldn't be fostering innovation. They would go to a more tax-friendly jurisdiction to operate. And we're starting to see that with crypto, right? Like we haven't fostered the innovation here. There's been opposition. We've still got the SEC levying. They want to take Ripple for $2 billion. Get out of here.
Unbelievable. It's so disgusting what the SEC is doing to the crypto industry here in the U.S. And I don't really, everybody blames Gensler. And the reality is, I think it's higher than that. I think it's the administration. Right? Gensler's just he's got a boss like anybody. And I think, they're like, no, we're going to do Operation Choke Point. We're going to keep that going. But the reality is, I think hopefully soon, Jake, we'll get to a point where the powers that be will say, hey, you know what? All right, let's get that stablecoin regulation out there. That's going to be step number one. If we can get that out there, I think that'll help the industry, because the reality is they are stifling innovation. And, well, I shouldn't say they're stifling it. They're pushing it, as you said, outside of the U.S. Look at Dubai. Look at Hong Kong. Look at Singapore. They're going everywhere. This is supposed to be stuff done in the U.S. The U.S. has always been the leader in innovation, Jake. And what we're seeing happening because of this reason, companies are afraid to do anything here because of the backlash they get from the SEC.
You don't want to raise any capital here for your ICO.
Hell no.
And we're working with regulators. We have active conversations with Hester Pierce through another board I sit on. We went to Dubai and met with the VARA and the DIFC there. We hosted them at an event. Want to basically, they're educated. They get it. They understand. But they also want to make sure that there's protections for people put in place, which I can see that side of the coin too. How many people have been burnt by FTX and Celsius and Voyager, and how many rugs go? Like, look at these Solana meme coins. Okay.
Oh,
like how many people are getting rugged on a daily basis over there?
So sad.
Every day. Right. It's a gamble. That's all this is. It's
go gambling. To the casino. Go to the casino, Put it on red. You got a better chance, Jake. 48%. You've got a better chance of 48%.
Honestly, yes. So anyway, that's not okay either. Like I don't understand how retail investors, it's okay for them to go gamble their life savings, but it's not okay for them to invest in a startup. Right? Especially if it's in a sector somewhere that they have an understanding of that company and their product or service. Maybe they are sophisticated, right? And they should qualify as an accredited investor because of their knowledge base in that area. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Okay. Like there needs to be some type of assessment or something that allows you to participate as an accredited investor on deals. because there does need to be some safeguard and qualification.
Yeah,
But income and net worth, I know a ton of people that make a lot of money that have no idea where to invest it.
that's right.
And when they do invest it, I'll give you an example. So in 21, I went to, first time I was ever on a private jet. I paid way more money than I was comfortable with to get in this group, go with them. I had the least net worth of anybody there, and met a guy on the jet. He had $9 million sitting in a bank account because that's what he made each year. That was his, like, that's my safe fund.
That's
And I'm like, so do you do investments, or like, he's like, well, why do I need to invest? Like, I make $9 million a year from my businesses that cash flow. I'm like, I mean, I guess not. Okay, good, more power to you.
Yeah.
But he was like, that is why I'm going on this trip with you guys, is to get some knowledge around this so that I can do it effectively, right? So we get to the conference. It's an NFT conference. It's elevator nights. Dan Fleisman puts them on. They're free. If you guys want to go look them up, anybody that's watching this, go check out Dan Fleisman. He was the youngest entrepreneur to ever take a company public at 19 years old.
Wow.
Super brilliant guy, deep into crypto, got in Bitcoin and Ethereum early on. Anyway, so we get there. He's got people up on stage. They do some mutant deal that's an NFT, but it's for a nonprofit. So, good cause. And anyway, they're shilling on stage. There's 5 billionaires in the room. Anthony Pompliano's there. He spoke on stage. And they're all shilling UST up on stage. Luna. Before it collapses, okay? And the guy's up there, and he's like, so this guy had bought in at the ICO with his Bitcoin and got locked up in prison for 5 years.
Ooh.
Okay. So he had his cold wallet in the top of a closet in his girlfriend's house. He gets out, and he's a billionaire.
I guess that time did him some good, right?
Hey, he couldn't solve. He was in jail.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what the hell to do, how to get it off the ledger or wallet or whatever he had. So anyway, he gets out.
That's a hell of an exit plan. Let me
Well, listen to what he did.
Yeah.
So he is taking loans against the Ethereum on Aave, doubling down, locking it up again after he bought more Ethereum with the loan, locking it up again. Both of these are at like 4% interest, taking $2 billion and putting it in UST. Gaining 20% on it.
Oh no. Okay. So
I don't know how much he lost. When it all went down, dude.
Oh, dude. That's got it. Well, that's it. He lost it all at that point with that kind of leverage.
Here's the message for people on that. If you don't upgrade your beliefs, your skill sets, and your traits to match the amount of money that you have come into, you will get pulled back down to whatever level you're capable of handling.
That's right.
So not to say, and I'm not preaching from a high horse. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. That's all I've worked on the last 4 years, is to make sure that I am upgrading my skill sets, beliefs, and traits so that I am able to manage the amount of money that we're working on here. Right.
Yep.
But anyway, I have a lot of people that will help them establish their estate trusts, LLCs, get things in place. They've got OTC desks that they're going to liquidate through. We've got the exit plan. They know what they're going to buy with it. Got everything set up. And then they still ask me, like, they've done all these things. They've got all this momentum. They're feeling good about themselves. And I'm like, now what? And I'm like, sit on your hands. But anyway, yeah, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up and learning what you need to in the meantime here. Oh, wow. Thank you for the super chat here. Major New Money. Nice. I hope you end up with the major new money here shortly. Much appreciated on the super chat there. All the kind words from people, I'm sure you're with me on this, Johnny. Some days, not as easy as others. And when you get kind words from people that let you know what you're doing has an impact on their life, it makes it all worth it. You know what I mean?
It really does, Jake, because at the end of the day, we're all here to try and help our communities, right? And so I kind of look at it, and there's a lot of people that don't understand the space. It's new. You know, I'm a technology guy, so being in the space, being able to help educate people so they can understand it really is important. And it's so cool when you hear back from the community, you know, hey, thank you for this, or thank you for that, or you know, good thing I had an exit plan, or good thing you gave me ideas to think about things differently. We're just trying to educate. It is so rewarding. And a lot of people don't realize, like, a lot of this stuff, you know, we don't really get paid to do this, to do the show. We're here to help the community. And we don't, you know, we have sponsors. We're there just doing the show to hopefully educate the community and give back, because we believe in, this may sound, you know, not to everybody agrees with this, but we believe in the universe. We believe in
Yeah,
karmic energy.
100%.
You put good karma out there, you're going to get good karma back. And frankly, that's why we a lot of us do it, Jake. And it's so cool, you know, to see that. So Major New Money, thank you for contributing to helping keep Jake's show, like, because Jake's show is great. And, you know, we want to, that's what helps keep this going, so we can help continue to help the community. So that's awesome.
100%, man. Yeah. If I started, I don't know, did you hate your voice when you first started doing videos?
I still hate my voice to this day. I don't, you know, I don't have one of those, like, Abs has a great voice. I got the you know, the screechy kind of horrible voice for this, but I try to bring the charisma with it. But yeah, you're right, Jake. I hate my voice. You got a deep voice. You got a good
voice. I appreciate that, but like, you know, when you hear yourself back on camera, it's not how you hear yourself in your head, you know?
Yep. That's right.
And so, but I knew that I was going to need to be able to get out in front of people and speak to fulfill on my goals, right? And so 4 years ago, I started doing Facebook videos, just daily. We'd get on there and talk about something, either crypto or finance related or whatever it was. And, you know, just once every couple weeks, somebody would message me and be like, man, needed this today. Thank you for putting this out. And there's always hate. You know, there's lots of people out there that for whatever reason, they don't have anything better to do than hop on your video and critique you in some way. And I'm fine with the criticism. I'm more critical of myself than almost anybody else is. And so I don't mind it. If it's disrespectful, I don't really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you know, I'm able to roll with the punches. But just if you're able to help one person, that's all this is about, right? Make a difference.
Constructive criticism is actually a good thing. I don't mind it. I love feedback. That's how you improve and get better, by listening to what other people say and being able to take some of that, you know. And then there's haters, like you said, Jake. And the reality is they hate because they have an internal issue that they have. And, you know, usually it's insecurity and things like that. So they'll bash on it. What people don't realize is, to do what you and I do, it ain't easy. It's not easy to get up here and put yourself out in front of everybody and try to talk about technology, because you can't be right about everything. So people will bash you the minute you're wrong and tear you up. But you just have to have a short memory to be like, hey, I'm helping people. I know I'm going to be right and everything. Of course not. You know what? You cut me, I bleed. I cut you, you bleed. We're human. We're going to be wrong. There's no question.
Well, and I try to be transparent about that. You know, I tell people I don't have a crystal ball. This is you have to create narratives and biases in your own mind in order to make decisions, right? And so I see a lot of people that get paralysis analysis, right? They overanalyze things and then they don't make any decisions, and then they didn't get anywhere, right? So you have to draw biases and conclusions, and you're going to be wrong some of the time. And to your point, you know, we're just like everybody else when it comes to that.
And just to build on what you said, not only are you going to be wrong, there's going to be times where you're going to make a decision. You and I are going to say stuff based on the data we have at the time. And as that data changes, it's okay
to change your narrative.
Data, reprocess what you knew then versus what you know now, and change. Well, when you do that right away, you know, people will start bashing you. But no, that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. if you can look at new data and reprocess and change your own mind, that's a great thing. And so I laugh when people are like, "Well, why you change your mind?" Well, because I got new information, and you should make a decision. Now you may not. You may say your original theory was right, but if it's wrong, and you're just gonna be stubborn because you don't want to look wrong, that's silly. To me, no. It takes a man to be like, hey, you know what? What I thought then and what I know now, two different things. I was thinking that way. Now I'm going this way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
It's an ego thing, and that also tells me how intelligent somebody is, right? How quickly they learn. So if you make a mistake and you immediately change your behavior to rectify it, probably pretty sharp. If you continually make the same mistake, probably not so sharp, right? Same thing with new data. If you're presented with new data, and the other, like I said this before, the reason I'm positioned where I am is I believe that has the highest ROI and the most advantages on the other side of this deal. If somebody could show me something different and give me the same amount of data that I've gone through for XRP, then cool. I'm happy to pivot, change my bias.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
But we've got a lot of good questions here in the chat that I want to run down.
Yeah, let's do it. Cool.
Let's see here. Here's, we always get the all-time high XRP question, so we'll entertain it. Says, when do you think XRP will hit all-time around top 5 years? And do you worry about CBDCs because they give central bank control over us, and it didn't work well with the dollar? Two things there, so I'll unpack them separately. CBDCs, I've said this before, I'm not really concerned about that. I think depending on the jurisdiction you're in, it'll fit whatever societal norms are there, right? So if you're in a communist country, probably going to have social credit score and all the other things that are involved with that. They can probably turn your money on and off and control you as they need to. Here in the West, in the US, I think that they will program the CBDCs, but I think they'll be used as aid, right? So if you get CBDCs or government subsidized in some capacity, UBI, food stamps, if you lose your job and you need some support there, or college aid or whatever it is, it'll just be programmed to be used on what you're supposed to be using it on. Right now, it's not that way. They give you money to your bank account. Even with food stamps, I see people trade those for things that probably shouldn't be trading them for. And all I care about is that they get used on whatever it's supposed to be used on. We need the subsidy. Like, there's been times where I've needed government aid. There are people that I know that have used and needed government aid. There are people that never saved for retirement that live on Social Security. My mom is one of them. Okay. And she didn't have the discipline to set that aside for herself. The government did it for her. And now she lives, I don't want to say like not a high life, but a comfortable life in retirement. Right. And so I think that there are social programs that are needed. But I would say, that ideally when you're subsidized in some capacity by the government, you're spending it on what you should be spending it on. And I think we'll probably end up with UBI. And I don't think, I've talked about this before, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it gives people a lot of freedom that they don't have right now. If you're working 2 and 3 jobs just to support yourself and feed your family, that doesn't really give you a whole lot of time to dream or chase your passions or build skill sets to, enable yourself to gain more money from doing something you enjoy, right? So if you had a stipend or something you got from the government every month that you had to pay your bills with, so your rent, your utilities, and food, and that's what it covered, and that's what you could use it on, it gives you some breathing room, right? Now you can step back, okay, I only have to work one job, and then the rest of the time I can spend with my family. I can start a hobby that might turn into a business. I can, maybe if I really want to live bare bones for a little while, I can just live on the UBI and really double down on a business I want to start, right? I think it'll just give people freedoms, and I think a lot of people are scared, and it could be used completely differently. This is my hope, right? So I'll let you talk, Johnny. What do you think about CBDCs and the programmability of money?
Well, so I think what you nailed on is I kind of agree with you to the extent that depending on the countries you're in, it will adapt into those forms. I 100% agree with you there. Because if you tried to, for example, launch a CBDC here in the U.S. and put the control limits on it that they're doing out in China, Americans would free. It would be so against our constitution. There would be uproars. And I don't think, first of all, the people who run the world know better not to make changes that quick. So I don't think we would do something
Got to
like
boil
this.
the frog.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You boil it. You don't slice it up. So, but I think what happens, the only concern I agree with you. I think you'll see it coming in a sense. It'll say, here's the UBI, or here's some extra funds. And oh, by the way, you can only use it for X, Y, Z, and you control it through that. And if it's used for those things, that actually can be used for good, right?
Mhm.
So there's good, and then there's the slippery slope of CBDCs, right? Going down the back end of putting on controls, and you've heard things about, oh, it can expire, or you can only spend it here, you can only spend it 15 minutes away from your house. If those kinds of things happen, which is what everybody's worried about, yeah, then I think that's where you start to get into the area of, whoa, do we want to go down that slope? But I think you're already seeing a lot of our congressmen and people who are already against it, that if it were to happen and we were to get it, I think there'd be strict limitations. Like, no, it's not going to expire. No, you don't have a location or a distance limitation. And no, you can only, you can spend it where you want. Now, if it's given to you for free, given to you as a support, because that may be, yeah, they may limit, hey, you can only pay your rent, or you can only pay this or that. And that's not actually a bad thing, because if we're going to subsidize people, because let's face it, UBI is a subsidization. There's no such thing as free lunch. You and I are going to be paying for that, right? If I'm going to be
Well,
helping somebody, because the money's got to come from somewhere, right, Jake? The UBI, where's it going to come
well,
from?
again, I'm gonna hit you with something that's crazy. Okay.
All right, I love
Um,
crazy. Let's go.
all right. So would you agree that technology is inherently deflationary? So the more efficient that we become with technology, the cheaper goods should get for production.
Well, actually, the reality is that is true. That does happen, but then you have the counter. Fortunately,
Or
you have the government
right,
pumping up fiat, pumping it up, and that's
but
why everything goes up in value. But you're right.
right. But let's say you could track all the transactions across an economy.
Mhm,
Okay, so you got stable coins, you got CBDCs, you have a full purview of all the transactions that happen.
mhm,
The reason that the Soviet Union failed was they couldn't allocate resources appropriately. With free market capitalism, that happens without the government intervention. There's gaps in the economies or arbitrage. People see those opportunities and then go exploit that until it's nil. Right? You see blue
mhm,
oceans open up and then become red oceans. There's price competitive, things contract, margins
mhm.
lower.
Yep.
Um, but if you had full purview and you had an AI that had access to that data lake, Palantir, um, then you could direct the flow of money across an economy and incentivize spending in certain sectors where there were gaps. Okay,
Mhm,
so maybe you dole out the UBI because we are on the precipice of Moore's law going exponential. So you've got
mhm.
AI converging with blockchain and smart contracts, 3D printing, biotech, all the crazy stuff that people see right here on the horizon, right? And each one of those just exacerbates the other one. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
So I think they've front run the monetary supply because they
Mhm,
are aware that a deflationary collapse is coming.
mhm,
Okay. Where we implement these technologies and things overnight become way cheaper to produce and manufacture. And then we're going to continually get that downward pressure from the implementation of these technologies over the next decade.
mhm,
As people transition their skill set, they'll actually be able to print money in opposition of the value that the technology is producing, not humans, but the technology,
mhm.
to hold price stability. So if they're able to print money in opposition to hold price stability from the downward pressure, make sure it's allocated appropriately across the economy, people could have UBI and have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the monetary policy that our governments continue to run. That's therein lies the problem. Is there's been we haven't seen any discipline or show um, a willingness to let's say, limit that continuous amount of.
Well, if we're no longer the reserve currency, and everybody knows that's coming.
Oh,
right?
that's
Like,
the days. The U.S.
all
day.
right,
Yeah, our days are numbered. Let's face it. You're 100% spot on.
our bills coming due
Oh,
on that deal.
it's over.
So we're not going to be. We're going to have to adhere to a more stringent monetary policy like we did previous to the 70s when we had gold, right,
Yep.
as the backing. I still think that there'll need to be a credit mechanism, because you can't have an expansion of the economy at the rate that we have over the last couple of decades without people drawing money from the future into the now. So maybe that's borrowing against the digital assets and bringing those things on chain, and then driving the value of the asset up, right?
Yep.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Yep.
Which I think they know. I think BlackRock knows how to restructure debt. That's what they do.
Why do you think they want to tokenize the whole world? Wait till when they have the. There's a reason why Larry's excited about tokenizing everything, Jake. Because once he does, he's gonna loan out, and he's gonna. Oh, they're gonna make a shit ton of money and leverage off of loan. Tokenized.
Well, but we'll be able to do that too, depending on what assets you own.
That's
right. If you are taking the debt against the asset that you own, you're buying something that you can move on chain. That value now moves onto the network and actually backs the token that you took the loan against.
That's right.
So that'll be the incentive. How fast can we get all this debt and assets, real estate, everything else on chain with the debt we're issuing against? So I'm all up for that party. Again, debt is not income. It's not taxable.
Yeah.
So
well, I think when you're getting back to the whole thing of the CBDC, when you think about the slippery slope part, as long as we can avoid and put safety and precautionaries in place to ensure we don't go down that slippery slope, you could make an argument that a CBDC could be potentially good for the economy. So I think from that perspective, certainly there's going to be a ton more data that the central banks are going to know about if you do have one of those, because now it's going to, although they say they won't, right? But having that data, like you said, then you throw it into a data lake and you got AI assessing it, it could end up in a good place. It all depends on how, again, like Coach always says, I can take this pen and I can use it for good, right? I can write a novel or do something good, or I can stab somebody in the neck with them and kill them, right? It all depends on the intention of the person holding the pen, right? And that's, to me, that's the whole.
Well, and I think maybe
CBDC, right?
I think maybe they take the pen out of the government's hands.
That would be probably a good thing. If we could all control it and vote on it, that would be a great thing, Jake.
Well, you have these DAOs, right?
That's what they are.
Where there's voting models, and instead of it being a hierarchy, it's a round mechanism where everybody has their piece that they play, and they all have. Have you ever seen Ray Dalio's way that he governs Bridgewater?
I've seen a couple of his videos, but I don't know if I've seen that one of how he governs it.
Check it out. So he has an American a meritocracy, is what he calls it.
Okay.
And people basically are graded based on their knowledge or expertise in certain areas. So their votes on certain topics are weighted based on their competencies in that area.
Oh, I like
and
that.
then they also, if the algorithm picks up that you vote against somebody continually, it downgrades your vote in those scenarios. So if you emotionally vote and it's not based on logic, it throws it out, basically.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that gets implemented at scale in the government, but I think that there could be some type of governance model that we actually code into the government that can't be changed or manipulated by politicians. I'd like term limits on politicians, so you can't be a career politician.
Fantastic.
Back in the day, you weren't even compensated for being a politician. You did it because you were a businessman or a prominent person in the community that had vested interest, and you wanted to make sure the community succeeded. George Washington, Ben Franklin, like a lot of the people that signed the Constitution, they were not compensated by the government.
Yeah, and you look at these guys now. They go in, most of them. First of all, you have to be at least a millionaire to run anyway. They go in making $1 million. They come out making on average, I think it was 8 to 10 million. So
Well, you and look, you're
it's
going to get inside information.
yes, no doubt.
I can't hate on people for that. And if I was in that position, and I think other people would, like, if you just put yourself in that scenario, would you have the discipline to say, no, I'm not going to have any stocks? Get out of here. You're going to have stock investments too, and you're going to do what's best for you and your family. Okay.
Yep, no question.
I don't hate on Pelosi or any of these other people. Is it right? No. Do they have an unfair advantage? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Should that information be public and priced
Yes.
in?
Yes.
Well, but you can see her stock trades.
Yeah, now
right?
you can.
She's disclosing all those things. So just trade with Pelosi. If you know she's got the insider deets, like, just tag along right behind her.
Yeah, matter of fact, there's an app out there that does that. I forgot the name of the app, but it shows you what all the politicians trade at. So you can do that. Yeah.
Don't get mad at it. Just play the game, right?
I agree with you, Jake.
You don't get to write the rules. And maybe you will one day, right? So that's kind of my goal, is to get to a point where maybe I do have a seat at the table and I can help write some of these rules and make it a little bit fairer for people.
Yep.
But again, I'm just another human. We pointed that out. We all have flaws earlier, but code can't be manipulated, can't be changed. It's trustless. That's why people want to use a distributed ledger to be able to participate in global commerce and have a level playing field. Like, everybody talks about that,
Yeah.
So
that's what's fascinating, Jake, is we're finally moving from, a truth system, if you will, to a trust system. And our good friend Mark Yusko said it all the time when we have him on the show. We're moving, and he's so spot on. Is when you look at the blockchain, you went from us having banks and the system and the middleman in the way, to now a system where it's written in a blockchain, it's permanent, immutable, and basically, thank you, Max. I'll get that in a second. But where it is, it's permanent, and so you're right, trustless, and therefore we know we're moving into a system where right now there's a lot of lost faith in our current systems, and I think the blockchain can bring some of that back.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think probably in more ways than people realize. You want to make a gentleman's bet? I don't know which way you'll bet on this.
No, let's find out.
2024 election, I say it's done on blockchain.
Oh, wow, that quickly. I think we will be voting someday on blockchain. I'm not so sure we've got systems fully in place yet. Oh, wait. So the entire so are we saying like 10 people vote on blockchain, or are we saying all the countries?
I'm saying that U.S. citizens in 2024 vote on blockchain for the presidency.
Yeah,
Max says it will not happen.
Yeah. I'm in the camp of Max. I do think it will someday, but we're not there yet. I mean, we can't even get Congress to agree what a stablecoin is yet. We're going to get them to use blockchain. I don't know. We'll see, but I don't think it's going to happen that quick, Jake. But I do think it will happen. But I'm going to have to go in. If you're going to surround around the time frame of 2024, no, I don't think it's going to happen.
All right.
Let's find out. We'll bet your steak dinner on it next time.
Deal. Gentleman's bet on a steak dinner.
I love it. I love it.
Well, Max posted this up here. I guess hop back into Merlin. What are y'all looking to do here in 2024? What's the rollout? What's the release dates? What's that going to look like?
So we launched Merlin about 6 months ago. Excited about that. Anybody who's interested, you can actually go to www.merlincrypto.com. We offer free 30-day trial for everybody. We want everybody to try it. Nobody has to pay out the gate. You put a credit card in to keep your free account.
Well, yeah.
But we've designed it. I hate when you have to figure out how to cancel something, get on the phone, speak to somebody in a foreign country that can't speak the language. No. We made it simple. There's a one-click button in the app. So within 30 days, if you don't want it, try it for 30 days. You don't like it, hit cancel and you're out. But we've designed it so that people can try it, because I really want to encourage everybody to start thinking about an exit strategy. So what's cool is when you get your Merlin account set up, as you mentioned, we've designed it so you can sync a lot of your exchanges and your wallets automatically to Merlin. So it'll pull in all your data. As it ingests that in, you'll be able to see what your gains and losses are on a daily basis. You'll be able to see, more importantly, your average cost, and you can create an exit strategy. And the best part of it all is we will then send you an alert when your targets are reached. So you don't have to worry about watching the market. When I talked and when we were interviewing people as we were designing Merlin, Jake, get this. Take a guess how many times a day people looked at their cell phone during a bull market. Take a guess.
Oh, this is an average.
Yeah, average. How many times a day you think you looked at your phone during the bull run per day?
600.
Yeah, you're a little bit higher than most. Most people look at their phone about 20 to 30 times a day. They're looking at their phone and trying to see it. So versus when you've got your account and you kind of know what's going on, you look at it once or twice a day. So they're looking at 20, 30 times a day. What we found now that they've got Merlin, they're looking at it once a day, maybe twice, because they're comfortable. They have the peace of mind to know I don't have to look at my account and see what's going on and make a decision. I'm going to get that alert. It's going to tell me I got to go sell, and then I go sell. And the best part, Jake, we're a read-only app, which means we don't own your keys, we don't own your coins, we don't own nothing. There's literally no safety or risk concerns because we have no access to the key phrase.
Right.
We just only have access to the API keys just to display your data and show you your transactions and what you've done, but zero access to anything. So coins are fully safe. So we're excited about it. That's kind of what we're up to, and we're working on building our roadmap and add more and more features over time. But as any new company, when you get it out there, the first round is your first iteration is always your worst. We kind of got past that. We fixed a lot of bugs, and now we're really excited because now we're starting to add improvements to the app as we can use it. So, yeah, we're really excited about it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that'll be a great tool for people in this bull run. We provide the institutional custody for our clients, right? And we have, depending on how much you're looking to sell, we have partners that can execute a TWAP in the market. So they'll, we escrow the assets that you're looking to sell. They go execute the sell order over a time frame over an OTC desk. They deposit those funds back into the account, and we atomically swap those. But if you're not trading $250,000, $500,000, $2 million, that's the threshold, right?
Yeah.
So for retail, anybody that's looking to execute, even if you just wanted to get out for 100,000, a couple 100,000, I think that your tool is fantastic there.
And I forgot to tell you, it's a great question here. Somebody asked, does Merlin produce a tax breakdown? So that's actually one of the roadmap improvements we're looking at over time, is adding in, a program. But for now, what we do is on all the exit plans, Jake. If you create an exit plan, we show you the breakdown of your profit at each exit target. We show you your total profit if all of your targets are executed, and we show you your tax estimate based on your tax bracket. You set that in Merlin, and we show you what your estimate is. So if you do sell, how much is set aside in your IUL or whatever, or anything you mentioned.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give that total spam at some point, and you won't get caught. Because I've had a lot of people sell, right? And then at the end of because a lot of my friends made money in the last bull run, and they're like, damn, I got whacked. What did you back? I'm like, you didn't set the money aside? Like, no, I didn't even think about it. Well, Merlin thinks about it for you. You don't have to worry about it.
The other thing I'd mention for people is wash sales are legal in crypto. So stocks, you can't do this. If you sell a stock, you can't. Well, you used to be able to do this. You got to wait 30 days.
30 days now.
Yeah. So let's say you liquidate your Amazon at the bottom. You got to wait 30 days to buy it back in order to actually realize a capital loss. Okay. But with crypto, you don't have to wait. So let's say you do make a bunch of money on something, and then you do ride it back down, right? You left that 30% in, and you actually got in higher. You averaged in higher than where you ended up at the bottom of the bear market, which we've all done.
Yes, we have.
You can sell that position and buy it right back and realize that capital loss to offset some of the capital gains you had earlier in the year. That's I actually used that at the end of 21.
Great tax strategy in December of 2020, December 29th. I use that rule. I use that strategy, Jake, all the time. It's a great rule, or great strategy for crypto, anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll change at some point. They'll make it where you can't do that, but
of course,
take advantage while you can. Right.
That's right. That's right. We're so early in this industry in this space that there are rules in place that we know are coming because we've seen it, right? It's with the stock market. When we went and digitized, and we went back to the 90s, into the 20s, into 2000s, when we went into the digital age, and we saw all these exchanges go online, we started to see a lot of rules come into place. You're going to see the same thing happen in this space all over time. But like you said, until they do, take advantage. You have a small window because they will. The government will squeeze out because they want their tax dollars. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, and again, maybe we're moving to another paradigm. I deal a lot with taxes just because, we help establish estates and make sure people can mitigate their taxes. I'm working with CPAs. We have all the people that are proficient with digital assets in each one of these regards. I hope the IRS goes away just like everybody else, right? I would love a 12 to 15% just flat tax when you buy something.
There you go.
And as long as it's not a necessity, if it's not food, if it's not shelter, if it's not something you need to live, if it's a luxury item or a service, you pay your flat tax, and that's all you got to pay. You don't have to worry about all this income and capital gains and estate tax. And that's how Dubai is. It's 6.5 sales tax over there.
Is that it? There's no income tax. There's no federal tax. It's literally just 1% sales tax. Wow, that's actually low because we have a 6% sales tax here, and we still have on top of that.
They tax you when you get it, and then tax you when you spend it.
And
that's I have my feelings about it. It's technically illegal. We're not at war. We haven't been. The only time they're supposed to be able to do that
is
for the income tax is when we're at war.
That's right.
So, maybe Trump comes back in and does what he said he was going to do at the end of his last term, where he was going to remove the income tax. I'm hopeful for it. I'm with everybody else on that.
How awesome would that be, man? Remember what he did? He did last thing when he came in, he lowered the business tax, which promoted and brought a shit ton of businesses back to the U.S., right? When he brought us down to one of the lowest corporate tax rates. I think we were 22, 21% or something like that. You saw the effect.
Again, people can feel how they want about it. Okay. I see the other side of that coin. If you're not a business owner and you just want to work a W-2 job, seems like bullshit. That seems like that's not fair.
Correct.
Okay? Yeah. I would just say set up an LLC and do something. Right? If it's a holding company, that's what we help people set up for their digital assets. When they can take profits, they can do a lot of stuff within the holding company, and they can take advantage of all those write-offs. Right? So a lot of people think you need to have a business that makes money every single year. You actually only have to be profitable in the eyes of the IRS once out of every 5 years in order to maintain your business here in the U.S. My real estate professor, there was 3 teachers I had in college that actually had an impact on me and taught me real world stuff.
Ooh, let's hear it. Finally, some real world stuff. Let's go. I love it.
So he was a real estate mogul. He called himself a rancher. And he taught at UNT. Sharp guy. He was like in his late 70s. He had just married like a 37-year-old and had 2 young boys when I was in his class. Good for him.
Yeah. Kudos.
I don't think he.
Pretty good.
Professor. He's still working.
Good for him.
Yeah. Professor Bain, Dr. Bain. Anyway, what he would do is he would do a big real estate deal. He would do it for 4 years, and on the 5th year, he wouldn't do a real estate deal. And we asked him why in class. He said, well, on my ranch, it's a business, right? And cattle, you lose your ass. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked at doing agriculture, but you can't. It's almost impossible to make money with the cost of everything.
I heard it's ridiculous. Now the farmers are getting
you got to have some type of other income and use that to offset your
Right.
income. Okay.
Yeah.
So what he would do is he would sell the cattle the first year, lose money. Next year, he wouldn't sell any cattle. He would hold those cattle and lose money. Next year, he would sell the previous year's cattle, this year's cattle, and the future on next year's cattle. And so then he would be profitable that year. He wouldn't do a real estate deal that year. The next year, he didn't have any cattle to sell, so he would lose.
Yep.
And then he would float it for 2 more years and just repeat that cycle, right? So anyway, that's when I was like, okay, there's this. You can have multiple businesses, and this one has a really good year, and this one looks like it lost, and they level out, right?
Mix it up. Yeah.
I was like, and then you can have all the cool, fun stuff, right? So let's say you charter a jet, okay?
Put that on the other business that lost money, right?
Right. Yeah. You have a jet chartering business that loses money all the time because you rent it out at cost to other people, and you fly with them, and you're cool.
Yeah.
And then your other business makes a bunch of money, but this one lost money, so
they kind of
level up.
You're at zero.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Anyway, as people come into money, we help people set these things up. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So, just things you can think about. And then again, like I said, a lot of people just want to keep it simple. They want to pay their taxes, like you said, set it aside, know that it's there. Maybe you put it in a money market account, earning 5% until you do have to pay the taxes.
Yeah, why not use the tax money to earn you money? We'll pay more tax on that, but who cares? You're going to give it away anyway. You might as well earn something out of it until you give it, right?
Yeah, set it aside somewhere where it's at least doing something for you. At least you're getting a yield in savings accounts now. For years, you weren't getting anything. So
yeah, that's right. That's true. Right now, 5%.
Yeah, it's actually something meaningful. Before weren't really getting anywhere. Did you see any other questions here in the chat that you wanted to run down before we wrap it up this evening?
Let's see.
Phoenix. People talking about Cello here in the chat. Do you guys look at Cello at all on the morning chat?
No, we don't.
Me either.
Not at all. Not much on that one.
They're relating it to UST and or USDT and ETH. I'm not. I don't know if you saw the update from Coinbase the other day. They were trying to incentivize people to move their tether over to USDC and earn a higher yield.
Yeah, there's no surprise there, right?
Kind of like wink, wink. Maybe move your money over here.
Yeah. There's been that big battle between USDT and USDC, right, for quite some time. But now that Coinbase has come out with their base, I don't know if you're familiar with the base product. I think you're going to see a little more momentum moving toward. They have so many followers on Coinbase. I think you'll start to see that whatever they push will start to happen because they have so much influence. First mover to the market, right?
Well, there's so much adoption on Coinbase in comparison. Yeah. Like when people get into crypto, what exchange do they go to? Coinbase,
right? Yeah. They go to Coinbase. And so for me, that's why I look and I tell everybody, look to see what they're doing, because that's where I'm always looking for early indicators, right? One of the ways to look for that, look at the developer. Look to see where is that developer activity. That's usually a good indicator of DApps and things that will come out down the road, and that's probably where you're going to see money flow. So there's a tip for everybody, right? That's another early indicator for me is, who are the market leaders, in this case Coinbase, and what are they doing? And Base is coming out. You can bet. I hate to say this, but in this next board, you're going to see a shit ton of meme Base coins coming out. I guarantee you're going to see that happening. And then once we get through all that, you'll see, I think, things built off of their layer 2 there. But for me, there's just good ways to look at early indicators of where to potentially look for. If you're looking to diversify, there's other areas that you can look for that could be potential winners.
I mean, you hit it spot on there with Solana, right? Like if you were looking at Solana a year and a half ago and all the development that was going on for that network and Jupiter, that's been a huge jump there for people that were holding Solana. They got the distribution on that deal. Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? If you were in early on that on the NFT craze, like how good did you hit it there with the Ape coin and then the Lands of the Meta and like everything else that you got that was just add-ons from holding, people bought the Bored Ape at like a couple $100 for a Bored Ape, and then it went to, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands. Everything was going for hundreds of ETH at one point in time. Like, it was crazy how high all the NFTs went. And I don't know if we're going to get, I don't know if this time around we're going to get that same crazy NFT or NFT craze. I think we will with we're already seeing it with the memes. Maybe it'll happen with NFTs again. I think maybe a lot of people learn their lesson, but maybe not. Maybe not. But there is oh, sorry.
I was going to say, like, things tend to rotate, right? So there was the DeFi deal where everybody got into Aave and Compound and all the stuff that was going on there, and then it migrated to the NFTs. Who did I talk to the other day? They think that there's going to be one on like storage or AI, right, based tokens, or gaming tokens, right? Mm-hmm. There's these different verticals where liquidity moves in and they just ape in on a bunch of different stuff because nobody knows what's going to happen, and there's speculation.
Yep.
It's got to be there before.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now. You're seeing, and like, to be honest with you, I don't even play any of that stuff. I have no desire to sit there and ape into all these coins and be ready to ape out. And if you miss the ape out, you lose your bag. It's just, for me, I have no interest in it. I'm looking at what are real world solutions, technologies out there, like an XRP, right, that we know solves a major issue with a cross-border payment solution. I love the way they're also expanding into AMMs and other areas and custody solutions. The thing I love about them is Ripple's smart. They like, hey, we see the future, we see where it's going, and we're going to play in a couple different of these areas and spaces. So for me, that's kind of what I like. I like those real world solutions, and I try to invest in those. And somebody asked us a question here, Jake. Do you and I invest in Coinbase shares, the actual stock? And for me, I'll yeah, there it is. So yeah, absolutely. I did. Because not only do I in crypto, but I am looking at what are some company plays that I think will be. So I believe we're back in 1997 again. I think we're in the beginning of the cusp of a whole paradigm shift. Right, we're moving from Web 2 to Web 3, and I think there are going to be the Amazons and the Red Hats and the Googles of the world that are going to come out of this space. They're going to be in there, and I think Coinbase is going to be one of those. I think Ripple is going to be one of those. I think some of the Bitcoin miners are a place to invest in because I changed my opinion on Bitcoin. I at first thought Bitcoin, maybe it was going to go up, maybe not. I wasn't really, and I'm not a maximum premium. I have a very little tiny Bitcoin, but I actually do believe when you see now that the big boys have decided to come in and play in the space, and with a Bitcoin ETF that has now legitimized Bitcoin, I do think that it is possible 5, 10, 15 years now that we can see it at $1 million because of the fact that for the first time ever, Jake, in your lifetime, in my lifetime, and in all their lifetimes, all everybody in the chat, we have an asset that's finite. Fiat, not finite. Gold, not finite. We mine 2% a year extra. Silver, not finite. We continue to mine it. Real estate, not finite. We build more. Bitcoin, finite. 21 million. Never have more. Unless they vote, obviously, to change it. You're looking at 20. You have a finite asset. We don't know what that's going to look like when the world, 5 to 10 years from now, decides to go chase. You have potentially 3, 4 billion, maybe 2 billion people chasing 21 million coins. Can you imagine the supply and demand that could happen there if that does happen? I'm not saying it is, but boy, looking at BlackRock, the number one largest asset manager in the world, bought all the miners. They bought 8% of the miners, Merit Right. They bought Bitcoin at 15,000. You think they're not going to pump this thing as high as they can? I think Bitcoin can skyrocket. And so therefore, long story short, is that's why I like some of the miners. Because some of these miners, man, if we're looking at $1 million Bitcoin, can you imagine what these miners are going to be making? You could buy these things for 50, 60 cents. In the bear market, you could have bought them. Now you can't buy them now. They're gone. Those opportunities are over. You missed it in buying the bear market. But to me, I like looking at some of those spaces in the stock market that are technology or
Yeah.
crypto driven. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I like private equity a little bit even earlier
Yeah.
than
Link to, baby. Link to, right? Well, yeah.
so we actually run private deals through the mastermind group,
Right.
where we get access to private equity,
Like, do you
similar to
get
Link to.
R3 quarter by any chance? You guys have any access to R3? Yeah.
We talk to them pretty regularly, but
That would be interesting.
we don't have we've asked, we haven't been able to acquire any
Yeah,
shares.
I
So
want
if
so
if
hard
you
to
look
find.
at their cap table, if you go check out Crunchbase, it's all the investment banks
Yeah,
that were on
that's
the
why I
seed
want
round.
it. Yeah, I know. Why do you think I want it? You
Yeah.
can't get it.
So you can't get it. Really, the only way that you'd be able to get it is if you found an employee that wanted to liquidate a portion of their shares that they had already vested.
Do you know any employees, Jay?
I actually do know an employee that just left recently that I might be following up
That's
with.
what you want to sell. I'll tell you, man, that R3, I think, when you look at some of the systems, when you look at the companies leveraging them, to me, again, I look at my old saying here, right? It's not what you know, who you know. They've got some serious relationships with some big banking players.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So that's kind of my lane is the private equity. So let's say you did get in Coinbase, when it was on Link to, right? They had it at 40. Well, they had it at 42 and 35.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay.
But if you got in at 35, you get a 10x return at the IPO at 350, and then if you got in at 42, you get a 7x return on your money, right? So, and that was a direct listing. Those people sold their shares onto the market, and even now, if you held, you're still at the same price you bought it at.
Yeah, it's just kind of starting to recover.
So, and I'm with you. Yeah, I think we're at the early stage, and there's going to be a lot of companies that end up coming into the space and are developed. Some of which are already here. The people that are building in the bear market, and the people that were doing things while everybody else was hating on crypto and didn't want to touch it. Those are the companies that have been built over the last 2 years while everything was kind of taboo. Don't mess with that stuff. It's going lower.
You're right.
Those are the people that are going to really be able to ride this next wave as utility does come in. Because I think and I know a lot of these people personally that have been developing things on the network, building smart contracts, building in real world applications that are looking to deploy those solutions over the next 12, 18 months. And when those things take traction and we actually get mass adoption, because we're at the gap here. We've got the really early adopters, you got the early adopters, and then you got masses that come in after that on the bell curve. And I think we're right at that point where we're about to get a Cambrian explosion, is what Chris Larson calls it.
I like that. Jake, somebody asked earlier in there, where are we in the utility phase or of the curve? And that's a tricky question because I think it's all over the place depending on the companies. But what do you feel where we are when you think of speculation, purely speculation versus full blown utility? Where are we in that phase in crypto? If you had to pin the tail on the donkey, where are we in that front, from that speculation to S curve? I'll tell you.
Weeks away from actual utility at scale. BlackRock just partnered with Securitize to start tokenizing the funds. The institutions are here. I'm working and dealing with custody. We have one of four, or the only family office that offers digital asset custody for our clients in the U.S. Or even abroad that I'm aware of. There's only 5 or 6 wealth managers in the U.S. that offer custody for their clients through Anchorage or anybody else. But they're coming. When we were in Dubai, we were talking to them about who has licenses there for custody, and they mentioned that there are 5 very large players that 2 of which will go live soon. That people are going to know who they are. That are not crypto companies. So I think right here at the end of Q1, we're going to see maybe HSBC. They talked about their custody solution that they were going to launch with Medico. I think maybe Deloitte and Citi are some of the other ones that are progressive and maybe going to roll those solutions out. Fidelity already has custody for their clients for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think you'll continue to see more adoption in that space. And as we do get tokenization of securities and bonds and debt and these other, financial instruments, you're going to have custody providers and integrations for traditional legacy firms to be able to hold those assets. I don't think we're far off at all. And when it happens, I think that it's going to move. It's kind of like the trickle flood deal.
Yeah, right. Yep.
They're all chomping at the bit. They're all right there at the gate. It's just stablecoin regulation, and then
I think that's the linchpin, 100%. Yeah. We heard Yellen talk about it the other day, right? She came out and she went in front of Congress and said, "Hey, it's the first time now. We had Larry that did what I call the WWE heel turn. Anybody who knows that, it's when the bad guy switches to a good guy. And we saw like Fink was out there bashing Bitcoin and crypto forever, and then all of a sudden, after they got their claws into it, he's now the biggest." He's the biggest proponent of Bitcoin ever did now.
Well,
in crypto, right? It's so funny.
They don't necessarily say Bitcoin, right? When they're talking about this stuff, people parade Bitcoin out, and they say, and they'll ask them pointed questions about Bitcoin, right? And then they always will correct them, and they'll say digital assets and tokenization in the conversation. But you see all these narratives that come out in the clickbait, right? People put Bitcoin because they know that's what's going to drive views and clicks on stuff. But they see the utility networks. That's where they're going to be building this stuff. That's what they're going to be using. They know they need real-time settlement for the back end of the stock market, and that T+2 is not going to cut it for Bitcoin, right? They can't balance their portfolios correctly. And so anyway, I don't think it's going to be that long before we see some significant adoption. I think 2024 is going to be a good year.
You and me both, man. I think 2024 is really going to be. This is probably the true, real kickoff year of utility, right? Where we're really there. I mean, let's face it. I wasn't in the prior bull runs, but in 2013, 17, and 20, you didn't have BlackRock here. No. You didn't have regulation talks coming, right? You were nowhere near. You didn't even have the SEC really going after anybody, right? This is a whole different ballgame. This is the year, I think, I agree with you, where we mark the day crypto was, in a sense, born, if you will, from a utility perspective play. But I think we're in the beginning. We have a long way to go before the whole world is running, on where everything is digitized and blockchains are running every single company's back end.
We're a decade away from all of that.
That's where I'm at. I'm with you there. Yep.
We're in the second inning.
Exactly.
If I was going to put a timestamp on it, that's where we are. Out of a 9-inning game, we're in the second inning. What do you think it does to price action for the broader market when we get an asset that decouples from Bitcoin and is used outside of just the speculative environment that we're in a utility setting? Like what paradigm shift occurs for the rest of the market when that happens?
I think that's a great question. When we look at it, and if we look at some past examples, you saw two different things happen with price action. And you can go look at any of this. Amazon is a great example of this. When you go look at it, you're going to see that during the speculation phase, you see a massive price rise, right? And then you see that 80 to 90% pullback.
Oh, no.
We saw it, right? And we lived through it in Amazon, went up to 125, dropped all the way down to like $4 or $5, and then kind of went flat and sideways for about 10 years. 10 years as they were building that utility and gaining that momentum, and then there's that paradigm shift, and then you see the exponential. And it happens on almost any curve. You can go look at it. But the interesting thing is that time from speculation phase to that utility phase where you're bottom of the S curve, where you start to go up, it's usually on average anywhere between 10 to 12, 15 years, depending on the technology or the industry you're talking about. Some industries move faster than others. So for me, I think that we will see that happening in this space, but it's going to be a matter of time. And I'm with you where I think we're at the very beginning. And so if you had told me back in 2001, and I was buying Amazon back at $6, and you said, Johnny, 20 years from now, Amazon's going to be $3,300, I'd say you're crazy. You're full of shit, right? No freaking. Who would have believed it? Nobody's going to believe it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we know it's possible, and we know it's going to happen in this space. And that's why I'm excited. I'm a little more diversified because I believe, I don't know which, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know which horse is going to win the race. I like a bunch of them. They're pretty. They're nice. I love that. I've got them in my stable. I got the brush. I brush them down there in the day, feed them a little hay. I love my horses back. But some of them are going to be winners. They're going to be on that S curve. And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't going to make it. Just,
99% of them going to zero.
They're all going. They're not going to finish the race.
Which one is it?
I have no clue. Right.
That's why I'm siloed where I am, Johnny. It's
you love your horse. That's cool.
Well, it's got legal clarity, or at least I know that one's not a security, right?
You're absolutely right on that, my friend.
Everything else, I'm like, don't know.
You're absolutely right. You're right.
And Bitcoin, I wish I got in Bitcoin in like 2012, when the ROI was there, right? I'm jelly, is really what it comes down to.
But don't be. If this thing ends up at $1 million, you're going to look back someday and you're going to go, damn, I could have bought that at 67,000. I know it's not the same.
Well, the ROI for where I'm positioned, I think is greater in the time frame.
Oh, no doubt.
So let's say it was at 50 and it does get to $1 million. That's 20x.
Yeah,
right?
You're going to get more than that out of XRP.
XRP is going to be, let's say it's at 50 cents, it's got to be $10. Right. $12 at 60 cents.
Actually, I'm glad you said that. Somebody asked us what we think the price would be for XRP.
I asked people this the other night. Actually, I asked people this in the Discord, but I'll do it here as we wrap it up. Or people ask me. I think we both agree that we think utility is going to happen this year to some degree.
The start of it, yeah.
The start of it.
Not full blown. Okay. I don't think full blown, but the start of it, yeah.
So let's say XRP, either through Ripple or R3, either one, gets 10% of Swift's volume. Okay, this year in 2024. I think that's realistic. If you have some CBDCs issued, Japan's in a pilot, they should launch theirs. India is going to T+0 on the 28th. We got 3 days for that deal. I think there are going to be some issuance of some CBDCs this year in 2024. Swift just came out today and said they've concluded their pilot on 38 different countries for CBDCs in the sandbox, and they're looking to move to full production over the next 12 months here. So with that, I think it's very reasonable that XRP could aggregate 10% of Swift's volume, and just that would provide a $50 to $100 XRP.
Wow. Yeah.
That's just math.
Yeah. Trade volume, right? That's just the daily. You're talking about the daily trade volume of it would result in about and to me, that's what it comes down to. If they can secure that level, 10% of the Swift, shit, that's a lot. Even to get 1 or 2%, we'd be very happy as we continue to grow up that adoption curve, right? No question about it. But $50 to $100, yeah. I mean, the return, of course, on XRP is massive compared to the other plays, and so you wouldn't trade off that for a Bitcoin or something, because the Bitcoin play is going to be further down the road.
And if like you, I do want exposure to that. It's gold. Let's say it's gold, right?
Yep.
And I want 1 or 2 Bitcoins after the other appreciates. I can diversify into that, and I can hold those long term. So that's kind of my play with it. But if we did get, so let's say there was a circumstance where there were problems with the Bitcoin ETF and they need to settle the back end of the stock market real time. Project Ion is supposedly running in tandem. The DTCC built that out with R3. There's documentation around all that.
Mm.
Now you're talking 600 trillion in assets.
Yeah.
Now that's a little more volume that would need to settle, right? So I don't know if that happens in 24 or not. Probably not. But then you're talking like 4 digits, probably, to be able to settle.
You're talking massively life-changing digits for sure, no doubt about it. And that's why, like, for my XRP, like, I got the bags there, but I'm taking a little bit more. That would be in the future, you know. The 60-40 on that one's the other way around. It's more like you still 40, hold 60.
A little now.
Yeah,
keep a little more
a lot bigger
there.
bag for the long term, because I believe in the long term prosperity of that long run American. You know,
I think it ends up a tier 1 asset, and maybe Bitcoin does too, right? The central banks seem obstinate against that on Bitcoin. They haven't really given anything on XRP. They say hush hush. They don't say anything about it.
You hear nothing. What about XLM? Are you an XLM at all? Do you have any? What's your thoughts on XLM?
I like XLM. A lot of the people I talk to are integrated with Hyperledger and Hyperledger Bosu. They've got 4 different products that they integrate at the merchant and retail level. IBM's behind that. I think that's going to be super successful.
Right.
Now, and it's just an ROI deal for me again, right? I believe that XLM will have to facilitate micropayments. So in order to do that, you got to have 4 decimal places to the right of the decimal.
That's right.
And there's only 7 decimal places that's in the code. So we're looking at a maximum $1,000 per XLM is my max price target that I think it could ever get to, and that's long term. That's a full scale adoption.
Yeah.
Right? XRP, if you're using drops, it could be $1 million XRP long term.
Yeah.
So that's all it is for me is upside, ROI, return, and then how I think I'll be able to leverage the asset.
Right.
We've got the AMMs. You've got SOAR band smart contracts that have been launched on Hyperledger Network now. I think that both will have opportunities for you to be able to provide liquidity to pools and other transactions to be able to earn income in different ecosystems on the networks. So
I was seeing that AMMs, I know they had a code issue or a bug they're working on now to fix through that. When that comes through, there's some rumors that it's going to be around 4 or 5, 6%, which wouldn't be bad at all. I wouldn't mind at all. I mean, what are you hearing for potential yields? Are you hearing about the same thing on the AMMs?
So I think you'll be able to earn yields in 3 ways on the AMMs. One will be kind of like a CD. So I'm sure at some point in your life, you've probably put money in CD at a bank, provided liquidity to the bank, and they paid you an interest rate on the term of that loan.
A fixed term. Yeah, exactly.
So I want to be able to delegate my liquidity from XRP from institutional custody so I don't have any impermanent loss risk.
Okay. Because that's the big thing, the impermanent loss, right?
So if I get my way, you'll be able to escrow your XRP in qualified custody, delegate a trade line or a liquidity line into the pool that'll be represented in LP tokens that'll be split between the two assets trading in the pool. So this way, you don't even have to have XRP as one of the assets in the pool. And you actually get exposure to the assets that are in the pool. So I think you'll have a term limit where you lock it up. You get a basic interest rate for doing so, right? To incentivize people to provide liquidity in different ecosystems. And then you have the arbitrage, which is what's unique to the XRPL AMM versus other AMMs on other networks. So in other AMMs, people arbitrage those networks. They don't have to bid for the opportunity. They just do it. In these pools, you actually have to bid in LP tokens to be able to trade for 24 hours with no fees. So people are willing to trade or bid. David Schwartz believes somewhere between 90 and 98% of the profits that they would be able to yield in that 24 hours are what they estimate back to the pool. And those tokens are burnt. And so then, because there's a finite portion of LP tokens in the pool, the value of the LP tokens left in the pool goes up, right? And then so actually you're earning gains without tax implications, which I'm a fan of, right? Because you don't have to deal with the tax implications until you take a distribution from the pool to sell your LP tokens on the market.
Right.
So that continues to rack up value in there. And then, so you have the basic yield, you've got the AMM, the arbitrage in the network, people bidding for that opportunity. Yep. And then you've got exposure to the two assets in the pool, right? So let's say you're providing liquidity to, what are two of your favorite assets, Johnny? What do you think is going to do really good in this bull run?
I love the gaming plays.
Yeah, give me two of them.
But so, let's just say Gala and Myra.
Okay. You're going to put it in a pool of Gala and Myra. And now people are going to be able to exchange those two tokens and the arbitrage between them. So there's going to be volatility in that.
Yep.
And as they both appreciate, you're going to get upside in your LP token that's representative of the gains on those tokens.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
So 3 different ways. So I think it's going to be far more than like 5 or 6%.
Yeah, that's good. I'm loving it.
If it's to like stable coins, so let's say you're providing liquidity between Zimbabwe and Argentina. Okay. You'll probably get a base yield there. I think that they're going to have CBDCs that are backed by tangible goods or commodities or whatever it is in their country.
Yeah.
They'll be stable. So there's not going to be any volatility or trading between those. They're not going to appreciate because they're stable coins.
Right.
So you're just limited. You're just limited to whatever they're willing to pay you on the rate for that liquidity in the pool.
Yeah, which would probably be something in that low 0.5%, 1%.
Well, it might be prime. I think it'll probably be close to prime.
Yeah, possibly. That's right.
Yep. So 5 or 6% on an annual.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Kind of like a treasury, providing liquidity to pools and earn a treasury yield on it. So this is all speculation.
Yeah.
But this, it seems realistic to me based on my conversation with David Schwartz last year at Consensus. Hopefully we get to catch up with him again this year. And my other conversations with institutional custodians and other people in the space, they seem to be open to that idea. So,
yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun times ahead, Jake. Fun times ahead for us and everybody who's here. I just tell everybody in your chat, pat yourself, take your hand, turn it 360, pat yourself on the back because you know why you're here early. We all got a chance to front run the big boy. Whereas, in the early 90s,
never happens.
You usually don't get that opportunity. But us geeks and nerds who are here early, we got to take advantage of that. So kudos to all you guys out there for being ahead of the game, and now you get to ride the tidal wave. I'll leave it with this, Jay. I like to say, a high tide rises all boats, and it's good that all our boats are in the water.
Yeah, we're all vested here, and we're in before the big wave or the tsunami is coming.
Yeah, that's right. So, the tsunami that's coming. You're right.
We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. It's getting kind of late for me. I'm sure it is for you too. Are you East Coast or where are you at?
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. It's,
shit, it's 12:30 for you.
It's all right. It's all good. I can talk to you all night, Jake. It's all good, brother.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Again, everybody, go check out Johnny on Twitter. Let them know where you're at and where they can go get Merlin, the free trial.
Thank you. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyCrypto00. And on YouTube, you can follow us at Merlin Crypto. And, if you want to try a Merlin free 30-day trial, just come to www.merlincrypto.com. That's www.merlincrypto.com and free 30-day trial, risk-free. Come try it out. Let us know what you think. And hopefully we can help save a few people and get them into that mentality of, getting that exit plan, Jake, and getting out so they can take some of those profits. And then they can turn to you and all your techniques and strategies to be able to put that money in a good place.
100%, brother. Again, appreciate your time. And we'll have to have you back on soon.
I'd love to. That'd be great. And hey, I was meaning to reach out to you. We want to have you back on Good Morning Crypto. So let me know when you're available. I'd love to get you back on the show, brother.
We'll do, brother. You have a wonderful evening. Appreciate everybody in the chat and who watched. And we'll see you guys on the next one.